A few weeks ago, I took my last dose of Kratom, and I want to share with you some of the things that helped me get through the withdrawals. Hey guys, welcome back to Joey Talks Life. My name is Joey, and on today's video, I want to talk to you about some of the things that I found helped to alleviate or help me to get through some of the withdrawals. Now, if you haven't watched the first two videos in this playlist, I'd encourage you to do that because I go through my story and give context and explain what that process was like for me. A few disclaimers right up front. One is that obviously everybody's body is different. Two is that your withdrawals from Kratom will be predicated on a few things. One, how much of it are you taking daily? How long have you been taking it? And how slow or quick you decide to taper off of it. All of those things will greatly contribute to the intensity of your withdrawals. For me, I did a soft taper using Kratom tea for 2 months, and then I did a pretty aggressive taper using Kratom capsules, dropping down to 8 grams for a week, and then down to 6 grams for a few days, and then down to 4. And then the rest of that week I was on 4, took 2 grams the last time I took Kratom, and then that was it. So I would say that my withdrawals were pretty intense. I was on Kratom for 4 years, taking it every day, probably on average 20 grams a day. And so you got to take that into consideration when I talk about my process through withdrawals. I would say the biggest thing, even before I get into supplements and other physical things that you can do to help with withdrawals, is your mindset, determination, being resolute. I know for me, there were multiple times where I thought about quitting or thought about taking an extended break, and I would talk myself out of it. I did not have a resolute mind that this is what I wanted to do. Personally, without that type of mindset, I think it would be very difficult because we all know that Kratom really helps us to feel better. And so if you're not resolute and you are going about your taper, let's say you're 2 weeks into it, and then you have a really bad day, or you get bad news, or you wake up super anxious or overwhelmed or whatever, our minds are now programmed that Kratom is the solution. And so it's very difficult to resist not taking more or going back to what you used to take. So first and foremost, there has to be a resolution within yourself. And for a lot of people, they can't really get themselves there. They've tried multiple times. They're not able to stick to the plan. They're not able to make the jump. And in those situations, people are vitally important. Having people that are walking with you, people that are aware of what you're doing and will support your taper and will check in with you. If you've had a hard time stopping Kratom before, having a person with you that is fully aware of what's going on will absolutely help you to remain committed to the thing that you want to do. And if you're someone who has tried before, or you're scared, or you don't have anyone and you feel like you're alone and you don't even know which way to turn, I offer consulting services. I can come alongside of you and help you to create a plan, to be that person that can help you to stay on track, check in with you, and all of that. If that's of interest to you, just hit the link in the description below under book an appointment with me. All right, so first and foremost, let me say I tried pretty much everything I think that is out there. I did a lot of things to support my body and my brain to heal. And some of those things are kind of obvious, like taking a multivitamin. I was taking vitamin C, omega-3s, vitamin D. I was taking a supplement to help increase my NAD plus in my body. So all of those things I would say are just like a fundamental support. None of those things, though, made me feel better. So those are just to undergird my body's ability to heal and to repair. The things that actually helped me to cope or to feel better, but again, the feeling better is only temporary. But when I was in the midst of the withdrawals, like any relief was like gold. So here are some of the things that actually worked for me. I would say the only supplement that actually helped me to feel better within 30 minutes was black seed oil. Now, black seed oil is something that I've talked a lot about before on my previous channel as a potentiator. And I didn't have any on hand. I was probably 2.5 weeks into my withdrawals and remembered and read online. And there's actually a lot of research and papers that have been conducted relating black seed oil to helping to soften or alleviate withdrawal symptoms. So I got some on Amazon, got it delivered the same day, took the pills, and within 30 minutes, I could feel a big difference in my body. Now, why and how it all works, I don't really know. You can Google that. Like I said, the papers are publicly available, and they're easy to find if you just Google black seed oil and withdrawal. One of the major reasons for withdrawal is because the body is depleted of dopamine and serotonin, other neurotransmitters that make us feel good. Obviously, the opioid receptors are looking for the mitragynine and it's not coming. And so everything is kind of like freaking out, trying to balance itself. So the lifestyle or physical things that I did that helped to alleviate some of those feelings were anything that would increase endorphins or adrenaline in my body naturally. So for me, exercising, which was the last thing in the world that I wanted to do, I literally had to drag my ass out the door and make myself run. Sitting out in the sun for 20 minutes. Now, I live in Florida, so I have the luxury of doing that this time of year, but I know not everyone does. But a tanning bed will do the same. What happens is the UV exposure causes endorphins to be produced in the skin, which get into your bloodstream, and it just elevates your mood and clears your mind, makes you feel better. Another one is cold exposure. I'm sure you've heard all the craze about ice baths or cold showers. If you live in the north right now, you are lucky because you have natural ice baths all around you, whether it's a pond or a lake, or you set out a bucket in your backyard, like it'll naturally get cold. Very, very uncomfortable, but very, very rewarding. There's lots of research. Dr. Huberman is someone who talks extensively about cold exposure. And in his research and studies, basically the dopamine hit you get from cold exposure, we're talking about 3 to 4 minutes of sitting in 40-degree water, causes a dopamine hit or rush in your brain that lasts for hours and hours and hours. I think he said it lasts like 3 or 4 hours, which you compare that to something like having an orgasm, that dopamine only lasts for about 40 minutes. So doing cold exposure was essential for me to feel somewhat normal and to have some relief. Now, on the practical side of things, diarrhea was insane for me for 6 weeks straight. So I lived on Imodium. I'm not recommending that that's what you do. I know the package says you shouldn't use Imodium for more than like 3 or 4 days, maybe 5 days, something like that. But if I did not take Imodium, I could not go out of the house. Like it was just constant all the time. And so I was taking Imodium pretty much around the clock for about 6 weeks. And then I slowly started to taper back on the Imodium to see where my GI system was at, and eventually was able to stop taking it, and things have normalized, thank God. Aside from just feeling shitty all the time, physically, mentally, I would say that the largest challenge for me was my sleep. I had insomnia for probably at least 4.5, 5 weeks, and we're talking about getting 1 to 3 hours a night. And I'm someone who sleeps like a baby, have my entire life. Like 8 hours is easy for me to do. I've had trouble sleeping before, periodically throughout my life when I have increased stress or anxiety, but nothing like this. Like I could not sleep for the life of me. And to be honest with you, nothing worked. I did over-the-counter medications. I did herbal supplements. I did melatonin. I tried homeopathic remedies. I mean, just the whole gamut, and nothing would help me to sleep. On top of that, there's restless legs at night, which feel like ants are crawling all over my legs. Like it was not pleasant at all. And that does not help with trying to sleep or stay asleep. And I think a lot of the times that may be what even woke me up consistently when I would try to sleep, was that feeling of restless legs. Now, the one thing that helped, did not cure, did not fully alleviate, but helped, was Delta 8 or a product like that. If you don't know what Delta 8 is, Google it, you'll find it. I would take 1 dose of that at night before I would fall asleep, and it would definitely help me to sleep a little more, and it would definitely help the restless legs. Why it helps, I have no idea, but nothing else that I tried would help the restless legs, nor would it help me sleep. And what I noticed is as the post-acute withdrawal syndrome went on, like the longer the time went, the better my sleep got. But I did not have a full night's sleep naturally with no medication or no herbs or anything until about 4 nights ago. So 4 nights ago, I had my first full night's sleep, slept through the night, woke up the next day feeling amazing. And I must say, since then, since 4 days ago, I have felt back to baseline. I feel my normal self. I have my normal energies. I feel motivated. I feel optimistic. I just feel normal and stable again. All in all, I would say since I took my last dose, it took about 5.5 or 6 weeks for me to get out of all withdrawals altogether. And I must say that during my withdrawal time, I was scouring YouTube and the internet looking for people that had gone through Kratom withdrawals to find a sense of comfort, like I'm not alone, as well as just to hear their stories and find encouragement. There were a few that I found that were helpful. A lot of it wasn't that helpful. But the one thing that people said consistently that I hated hearing, but it is true, is that there's no way just to like get rid of the withdrawals. There's nothing that you're going to do that's going to make them go away. All of these things, all of the tips, tricks, supplements, lifestyle things that you do are simply there to help, to support, or to carry, or to alleviate some of those symptoms for a time. And that's why it takes determination, accountability, being resolute of the decision that you're making. Again, if you want help, need help with that whole process, reach out to me. The link is in the description next to book an appointment with me. All right, your turn. I want you guys to tell me if you've taken a Kratom break, if you've ever stopped taking Kratom, quit it, whatever. Were there tips and tricks? Were there things that you did that you found helpful and useful to alleviate some of those symptoms? Leave it in the comments below. Also, if you have any questions or comments, whatever you want to share, they're all welcome here. Also, if you're new here, subscribe to the channel, hit the little bell if you always want to get videos from me. I'm really glad that you spent time with me today. Again, my name is Joey, and you've been watching Joey Talks Life.